Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Freedom Empowered. It's your host Nick and Mason here. I just want to remind you guys to go check out our social media pages. They're fantastic pages. A lot of cool stuff on our Freedom Empowered Facebook page. We post some pictures. We try to post daily on Instagram, and follow us on Twitter. We tweets out some good stuff. And yeah, it was just another good episode. Mason will explain it to you guys.
No, I mean, I was reading this article earlier about the four greats of modern society, and they are Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, and Larry Page. That's for those of you that don't know, that's Google, Facebook, Apple, and Amazon. And it was an interesting article because it was talking about, the potential for monopolies, and it was talking about, they're going to take over the world and things like that, and like they're here to just take all the money for themselves and just drain society. And one of the things that really got to me was, we talk about it all the time. Is money anyone's goal? Is money their goal? I don't think it is. That wasn't. You can go and look back. They all got it. Where's is the modern world? You go and you can look at interviews with them from back in the 90s when they were getting started. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, his only goal was to go and try to do something new, try to sell books online. You look at Zuckerberg, he was trying to connect people. You look at, Larry Page. He created there's no way he knew what he was getting himself into. He was trying to bring information to the world, and it really gets to me because people have this idea that, like, when people have money, that they're out there just to get money, and that's not the case, because even the people who have all the money, their main goal is they're doing what they love. And so in this episode, we're going to get away from that whole money thing. We're going to get away from all of it. And we're going to talk about people that just are doing what they love. People that are not focusing on freedom of finance. There's some people out there who are actually defining their personal freedom. They are doing exactly what they love. They're crushing life. They're following their dreams. And it has nothing to do with money. Nothing at all. And it just, that's what we need to focus on here, because I think that, modern society might have this focus on, you need to be, success has to do with money. And if we're talking on the lower level, it's like you're not even supposed to enjoy your life, I feel like, is the idea of these days. You know what I mean? Like, they say, hey, you need to go out there, you need to go to college, you need to get a job, you need to go and do something that makes you money so you can have a stable career, and you could get your 401k, and then you can go, work a job that, brings you into old age, and to where you never have to worry about money. And that just, not only does that sound like not fun, that just sounds like soul sucking to me. So today, on this episode of Freedom Empowered, we're going to try to focus on people that just really did what they wanted, that really embraced freedom of movement, freedom of action, and just, really got after life with no thought of money at all.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to today's episode, just because it's just a little different from what we usually do on Freedom Empowered. Usually on Freedom Empowered, we're talking about how to get successful with money, or how money really comes in. But today we're going to just try to avoid talking about money at all. Just talk about pursuing your dreams, really. And like, first person we're going to talk about today is Travis Pastrana. And if you guys haven't heard of him, he's I guess he's more like a stuntman now. I don't know. I read an article that he's gonna in honor of Evil Knievel, he's gonna try to do what Evil Knievel did.
Is that how Evil
So,
Knievel died?
yeah, but Travis Pastrana is pretty crazy. He was the first person to do a triple backflip, which was
Well,
crazy.
yeah. No, I saw a video of him jumping out of a plane without a parachute, shotgunning a beer, and then, he took the parachute off one of his friends, like some Bond villain, and just, he floated down to Earth, acting like he didn't just risk his life for the stunt. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
no, ooh, he does a bunch of crazy stuff, and now he has the Nitro Circus show, but which is just him doing a lot more crazy stuff. But well, just real quick of his early life, really, his father was in the military. His uncle's actually Denver Broncos quarterback, which is pretty cool. And when he told his parents that he wanted to do racing, his parents just fully supported him. They were all for him chasing that dream, and they did everything they could to set him up for success.
I think, like, the important part there is that if you are a parent out there, yeah, you want to guide your kid. You want to make sure that they are doing something worthwhile. Maybe if they've been in a band for 20 years and it just isn't going anywhere, maybe give them a little nudge. Tell them, try something new. But at the same time, don't tell them when they're 17, hey, we're sending you away. We're going to send you to a private school. We're going to, make sure you get into college. We're going to make sure you get that chemistry degree. There's nothing wrong with that. I know of more than a few people that have chemistry, that have physics degrees, that are math majors, and they love it. But don't make your kid do that if that's not what they want. You know, you have you have to embrace life. You have to really go after what you want. I mean, that's literally what the show is about, is defining your own definition of personal freedom. Whatever it is, you got to go for it. You got to give it a chance. And if you're a parent, you know, let's see what your kids are made of. Who knows? Maybe they're the next Kobe Bryant. Maybe they're the next Tiger Woods. Don't tell them that pursuing something like that can never happen, because who knows? The worst case is that they have fun along the way.
Yeah, exactly. And in Travis's case, it worked out. His parents uh, supported him in his goal, and he ended up winning three motocross racing championships. He had like 11 X Game gold medals in racing, and then he was actually in NASCAR for a little bit. Oh, this guy just really liked to race.
Right,
I would
yeah.
say he's the real life Ricky Bobby.
Is he?
If you ain't first, you're last.
That's true. But yeah, he's an amazing example. You have other ones. You have even people that are more subtle than that. You don't even, like, we're always talking about people that are on the topper echelon of success. But there's a whole spectrum of success that where you are, what again, I will say it for a third time within the first 10 minutes of this episode, that the goal is for you to achieve your personal definition of freedom. It does not matter what it is. So there's no need for you to be top echelon. There's no need for you to be making $1 million. That's irrelevant as long as you're doing what you want. There is people that their dreams are, this way, that way. There's people that want to be a crab fisherman. There's people that just want to go and travel the world, that want to go and, be a civil servant. There's people that want to go move to a foreign country and they want to teach English. They want to go help people. They want to go experience new things. They feed off of new cultures. There's nothing wrong with that. And we're not even talking like hippies, because I think that a lot of hippies, it's an American word. I think a lot of hippies, they act like what they're doing is spiritual, or what they're doing is, somehow, you know, spiritual, I guess is the word for it. I don't, whatever it is, I'm not a hippie, but they have this idea that like if they just do less and they, whatever it is, they just hang out, go to Woodstock, that that's something crazy. But no, there's people out there that are people like Travis Pastrana who are doing something fun, doing something that they love to do. But they're not a hippie. They're pursuing it with all their energy. They're not just sitting around being lazy and just relaxing. They're not. They're not hippies at all. They're getting after it, but they're getting after it at an angle that points them in their direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the way that they're pursuing their personal freedom isn't necessarily through money. It's more through chasing the hobby that they love to do or the sport that they love to do. Like, I think the next thing we're going to talk about is whitewater rafting. I think that's one of the coolest things out there.
That's true. Me and Nick did go on a pretty cool excursion one time. We just went. I mean, it was just for fun. We went whitewater rafting on some cool river. I think it was in the Rockies or whatever. But we the people we were with, the instructors or the guides, they range from anywhere from age 20 to 30. And what really caught my eye when you really sat down and thought about it, you had to realize that we were paying, upwards of $100, $200 for someone else. We paid them the money for them to do the same thing that we were paying them for. Does that make sense? Like, we paid them the money, and then they made money, we lost money, and we both did the same thing together. You know what I mean? Like, who's the winner there? I don't know. It's pretty amazing to think about, though. I know.
Well, what's really cool is when we talk to them, that's what they do on their free time too, not just for work. They truly love whitewater rafting, and that's their hobby, and we're not saying money's important, but they found a way to make money and make a living and continue to do what they love to do every day.
Right. I mean, it's not that money's important, but they found a way to feed themselves. They found a way to meet their, you know, basic level of needs. You know what I'm talking about? And they did it, and it was enough. And I talked to one of the guys, and he was saying this is the guy that was older. He was like 30, and he had worked 14 different rivers in the country, or not even in the country. It was international. Like, how amazing is that? He spent I guess it would have been like damn near 10 years that he was traveling the world, working on these rivers. And I remember one time he was telling a story about how he was just hanging out one time in Arizona, and someone called him and said, "Hey, we need a guide for the Grand Canyon." And the Grand Canyon's a 13-day trip. And he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And he just hopped on and just went on this trip. It was a guide. And how cool is that? Did you know that the Grand Canyon was 13 days long on a raft? I didn't know that, but that's what he did. And it was just and it was just an amazing story, because you just saw this guy. And this is what amazed me, was that you saw this guy who was doing exactly what he wanted to do. When we talk about that simple yet extravagant question: if you could do anything in the world right now, what would it be? And he was doing it. There's no way around it. He was doing exactly what he wanted to do. He was in the Grand Canyon, going along the river for 13 days. Everyone else, there's people at the Grand Canyon. I don't know if any of you guys have been to the Grand Canyon. It's pretty amazing. But there's people that they ride the donkeys down, and they put their foot in the water, and then they shimmy on back up, because that was all they could handle. But this guy spent 13 days on a raft, and that was his dream. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, it's truly awesome. And I don't know, that's just what I hope for our listeners, that hopefully this inspires you guys to follow your dreams, to do what you want to do, and not necessarily worry too much about money if your dream doesn't really involve becoming a billionaire.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. You look at. I mean, let's just break down the numbers real quick. What's the difference between starting your career out when you're 20 versus when you're 25? In the long run, does it really matter if you're not going? If you're not joining the military, if you're not going to school, going to grad school, does it really matter all that much? What's the point of settling down when you're 20 and working in a cubicle? If that's not your dream, what's the point? Because when you end up being 65, 70, did that extra 3 or 4 years of working at a beginner level job, did it really matter? I don't think it did. I don't think it really mattered that much. And then you can even take it a step further because you have to ask the question. I don't know if you guys have heard the quote, but it goes something like, don't work your entire life hoping that you can make the money to buy yourself the freedom to do what you want later on. And not only that, because who knows what could happen, but also, how do you know you're even going to know what you want later on? People go, oh, I know, I'm just going to work my life, I'm going to save up a bunch of money, and then I'm just going to go ball out later on. You're telling me that after spending 40 years of your life working your ass off in a job that you don't even enjoy, that you're going to even know what fun is anymore?
Yeah, exactly. And you hear that all the time. People, they work a job that they don't really enjoy, but they just do it in the hopes that when they retire at 65, that they'll do something fun enough to make up for it. But then again, you're 65, and it's not impossible to be enjoying what you do when you're 65, but it's a lot harder to do the adventurous stuff that you wanted to do when you were younger.
Right, and exactly, that's exactly the point. Is there's a lot of things that people love to do that they do have an expiration date on them. You know what I mean? What if you want to climb Mount Everest? That you can't do that when you're way too old. You got to do that while you're young, and you're vibrant, and you got all them red blood cells coursing through your veins. You know what I'm talking about? Because I was researching Mount Everest, and it said that your red blood cell count doubles when you go up to base camp. It's pretty amazing. Everest is another, just a whole next level, exploration adventure. I know those people, they go up there, they have to spend like, I think up to 6 months just at base camp, just acclimating, and then for Everest, there's only about a 2 week period a year that you're even able to attempt to climb, and that's in the summer. And then even out of the 2 weeks that you're even allowed to attempt it, there's like 5 days where there's going to be a freak snowstorm, and like half the people get blown off the mountain. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's amazing, and it's risky. And we talk about taking massive risk, and massive risk doesn't always mean monetary. It can mean something like that. It can mean just taking a physical risk, taking a life risk. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about that is they don't just go for it either. Like, it's before that they're doing probably years of training too,
Right.
which is cool because they're going to different mountains and hiking up those mountains and training for it. And usually, if you're gonna climb Mount Everest, it's because you love to. You love to climb. You love to hike.
Right. I know what a lot of people do is they'll do the seven. There's seven continents. You guys know that, but they'll do the highest mountain in all the continents, and then they'll finish up with Everest. And if you live in America, start off with Mount Whitney. I think there's one in Alaska that might be taller, but in the continental United States, Mount Whitney's the highest, and that's not that bad. You go enjoy, a little bit of time in Yosemite, go hike the John Muir Trail, and then go climb Mount Whitney. I know I'm letting my nature side out right now. I didn't know if you guys probably don't know that I have that, but it's definitely a thing. You can really there's really a lot of cool places to explore here in America, and they're all pretty much free. And then you go And then just back to Everest, I thought this was a fun fact, was that when you're on the top of Everest, you feel as if you've taken 20 shots of your favorite alcohol of choice. But that's how thin the air is. You know what I mean? And that just sounds horrible to me, and I don't think I would ever do it. But at the same time, that's somebody's goal. I know one of you guys out there is like, oh wow, you're telling me that I can go up to just hike a mountain and it's like I take 20 shots. It's a little bit more risk than that because I know it's like 1 in 4 people their brain explode because it's just too much pressure. But whatever it is that floats your boat, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so the main point about the first things we told you about is just pursuing what you want to do. And another person I wanted to talk about was Travis Rice. If you guys haven't heard of him, he's a snowboarder and he works with Red Bull, and they came out with a pretty cool movie called The Art of Flight, which was that his first or second movie he came out with?
Well, I mean, he's been in a few movies, but as the kingpin of snowboarding, working for Red Bull, it was The Art of Flight and then The Fourth Phase. But no, I mean, both movies were amazing, and if you haven't seen them, you got to see them. It's just very incredible. His story is pretty incredible because he's ranked in the, or they call him, he's in the top 20 most inspirational or influential snowboarders that ever lived. But more than that, he's known as the best freestyle snowboarder that ever lived. By freestyle, it means open slope. Like he goes and takes a helicopter up to the mountain and then snowboards down, some remote mountain terrain. And, how did he get there? Because you guys are probably thinking, oh, we're just talking about hippies that are just, living the easy life. But no, it's not the easy life. Doing what you want to do, no matter what it is, you're going to still have to take risks. You're going to have to take action to get there. And I know that for him, what got him big, his first big success was when he drove. He grew up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, but his first big success was he drove himself out to Mammoth Mountain in California, and he did, God, I forget what it was. It was, do you remember the trick he did? I don't remember, but it was some crazy like 800 or something spin, and it was the first time anyone's ever done it. He did it in Mammoth Mountain out of nowhere. No one even knew his name. He was an 18-year-old kid that just drove out there from Jackson Hole and just did a trick no one's ever seen before. What kind of risk does that take? What do you do when you're 18? What did we do when we were 18? You know what I mean? So don't think that these people that are, just because their lives are awesome and just because they're amazing and fun, don't think that they didn't work hard. Don't think that they didn't take massive risks. I know I was watching a Red Bull video about these people. I think it was actually a snowmobile rider, but they show like 100 clips of him trying out these flips and not landing them. Let's just put it that way. It did not go well. There's hard work, and no matter what your dream is, in order to be the best, in order to go out there and crush life, there's going to be a certain level of hard work. There's going to be a certain level of dedication, of risk that you have to take to get there. So, just do what you love.
Yeah, exactly. And well, speaking of risk and challenges, really, something I find one of the craziest jobs, and it's actually considered one of the most dangerous jobs in the world, is Alaskan crab fishing, which is just crazy stuff. Just because one, the weather gets extremely cold, everything's constantly moving, and sometimes you're doing it in the dark, and it's just
Well, first of all, I
well,
think they've all seen Deadliest Catch, so no need to explain further. But everyone gets it. Sorry for cutting you off, Nick. But yeah, crab fishing is a perfect example. There's a multitude of seasonal jobs that you can do where you're exploring, you're going and doing something new. crab fishing is one thing. First of all, you can make money doing it, and you're going and exploring, Alaska. But there's other ones too. I know people that are forest firefighters where they go out every season and they go and live in some forest, and they're in just like a conglomerate of log cabins, and they just have hammocks and dirt bikes, and they go on cool um, hiking trips. I know one of my buddies just sent me this video of him, swimming with some beavers, which, I mean, that sounds interesting to me, but you know what I mean? Like, he's just out there, and then he goes and fights these forest fires, where one, that's a grueling job. That's an extremely grueling job where you're working hard. You're honestly serving the community because you're out there, fighting fires, trying to protect like the neighborhoods. But at the same time, you're out there for 6 months in the forest, just seeing nature and traveling throughout a national park or a national forest. That it just that's just one example. That's just another example of something you can do that is not focused on money, but is also just amazing.
Well, yeah, and another one, if you're not into the woods and all that, a lot of places in the country is lifeguarding is seasonal. So if you want to, you just find a cool beach, and if you're a decent swimmer and good at interviews, you could become a lifeguard, and that's a pretty cool job too. Just hanging out at the beach, I, you know what I mean? It's another job where you're out there doing something you enjoy, and just having fun with your life, and you're also getting paid a little bit of money so you could feed yourself.
Right. I mean, we can throw out examples all day, but you know, people just think the issue is that people say, "Oh, the job market is flooded. It's hard to go find a job." And yeah, in what field? If everyone's goal is to go work in a cubicle, yeah, it might be difficult. So maybe it's time to have a resurgence of people going out there and doing some of those jobs that are, lesser known. I just know another one off the top of my head. You can be a scuba diving instructor. I know whenever I've been on a couple scuba diving trips, and the boat, the master diver on the boat, it takes a little bit. It takes maybe a couple years to get your certifications, but then you go and you move to the Florida Keys, and you're the master diver on a boat, and all you do is scuba dive all day, every day. You're getting paid to do it. So just don't sit around and fight and squabble over some cubicle job, or fighting over something that society tells you is good for you. No, I know you guys have a dream, and because I have a dream, Nick has a dream. We all have dreams. We all have aspirations. We all have goals. The only thing that's holding you back is the willingness to take action, the willingness to actually believe in yourself and get out there and make it happen. There's nothing that's too hard to do. We talked about it with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was a 15-year-old kid, and in a matter of 2 or 3 years, he was a world-class bodybuilder. It's not. It takes effort, and it takes time, and you're going to have to grind, and it's going to be difficult. But it doesn't matter where you start or where you're from. You can make it to anywhere.
Yeah, and one of the things that we really want to push on you guys is, if you have a hobby that you love doing, push it to the extreme. It's especially you young listeners. If you're not doing anything that's gonna keep you from doing your hobbies right now, or if you're doing something that you don't really enjoy and it's keeping you from doing your hobbies, why not push your hobby to the extreme? Maybe have a part-time job and just enjoy life for a little bit. And if you're good enough at it, maybe that becomes your career. If it turns out where it's not good enough for you, and then you find something else, you find another passion you have, another hobby that you love to do. Just don't stop your journey to just having your passion be what you do every day in your life.
Right, yeah. Give it your all. So we'll connect it back once again to the principles here on Freedom Empowered. Define your definition of personal success, personal freedom, whatever it is. Don't hold back. Don't try to align it with the values of society. Don't try to align it with the wishes of your parents. Don't try to align it with the people around you. It doesn't matter. Pick what it is that you want to do. And I know everyone has that dream. And that's where you start. What you don't do is you don't look around you and say, this is the cards I'm dealt. And then, what can I play with those cards? You say, what is it I want? And then you start to build the infrastructure around, you start to build a foundation around that dream to go and reach it. And that's what we do here on Freedom Empowered. We're not like the most motivational videos that you'll see. They'll say, hey, work your ass off with what you have, and you can make something of your life. That's not what we're here to say. We're here to say, dream big. Pick the biggest and the most difficult goal, whatever it is that you want to accomplish, and then we're going to do everything we can to build the life around that goal to make sure that you get there through the 4 pillars of freedom, through all the different methods and systems that we've been talking about over the past 12, 13, how many episodes has it been? And we're going to continue to do it for as long as you guys are willing to listen. And hopefully, all of you that were with us from the beginning, and even those of you that joined later on, at the end of this, we're all going to be where we want to be. That's the goal.
Yeah, exactly. And that's our job here on Freedom Empowered, is to push you towards your goal.
All right, guys. Thank you. This was a quick one. This one was a little shorter, but I think we got out of it what we needed to get out of it. Keep coming back. Keep sharing your ideas with us. We're here for you. We're here as a group. We're here as a team because, at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is that we're all crushing life. So, we'll talk to you again next time.